Welcome to Lesson 7, Blending Phonemes into Words and Segmenting Words into Phonemes. By the end of this lesson, you'll be able to identify the two phonemic awareness skills that are critical to reading and spelling, describe the length of words that should be used when teaching blending phonemes and segmenting words into phonemes, identify two ways that the skill of blending phonemes contributes to literacy, identify two ways that the skill of segmenting words into phonemes contributes to literacy, and describe two ways to use puppets when working at the phoneme level. There is general consensus that blending sounds into words and segmenting words into sounds are the two skills that are critical to early literacy success. Learning to blend phonemes into words is generally easier than learning to segment words into phonemes. 29% of 5-year-old preschoolers were successful at blending phonemes, while only 7% of that group segmented words into individual sounds. 6 to 6.5 years of age is the benchmark for phoneme blending and segmentation for American children. This corresponds to late kindergarten in American schools. Let's review why these two skills are so important to early literacy. Blending is required when a reader sees an unfamiliar word in print, identifies the letters and letter combinations, holds the individual sounds in memory while other sounds are retrieved, and finally blends all of the individual sounds together. Difficulty with the blending process may interfere with retrieval of the name of the printed word and ultimately with comprehension of the text. Segmenting words into sounds is required for children to write effectively during the early stages. The child must be able to focus on each individual sound in the word and to think of each as being distinct from the remainder of the word. And both blending and segmenting at a highly automatic and effortless level are needed for orthographic mapping to occur. Orthographic mapping is the process by which we remember the words that we read. It is the gluing together of the spelling, the pronunciation, and the meaning of words that we read, and the movement of this information into long-term memory. Once stored, those words do not have to be sounded out again. They become sight vocabulary or sight words. This process typically starts by the end of grade 2. By grade 3, 1 to 4 exposures are all that is needed for a word to become a sight word. Orthographic mapping is not something that you can practice. Rather, you work to get accurate and automatic at blending and segmenting so that the process of orthographic mapping can occur. We'll revisit orthographic mapping in Lesson 8. The use of visuals is even more important when working at this level of phonemic awareness, because now children are working with 2 or more pieces of information at a time. In my opinion, the use of visuals may be the most valuable practice available to us in our attempt to support everyone in learning to read. The visuals cue the student to the task, and they give permanence to sound, helping children keep track of where they are, especially when segmenting words. Visuals that contain a midsection will also prove to be a valuable teaching aid when cueing for the medial or middle sound that can be elusive even for some students moving into grade 2. While it's the teacher who generally uses the shoulder, arm, and hand prompt, many students can be taught to use the fingers on one hand as a visual assist when segmenting. Do keep in mind that the final goal is for children to blend and segment at the phoneme level without any external supports. The use of puppets during blending activities can increase student engagement, particularly if students get to be the puppeteer during the class session or have access to the puppet during unstructured play. Some teachers name this puppet Stretch. Tell the children that the character has a strange way of talking. He spreads out the sounds in his words too much, and he needs help learning to talk. When working on blending, place 3 or 4 pictures in front of the children and ask which word the puppet is trying to say. When choosing the picture cards, choose at least 2 words that start with the same sound. If there is only one word that starts with the letter M, the child does not need to know how to blend. She can choose the right picture just based on the first sound. The puppet's habit of saying each sound separately can be referenced during writing activities. If a child wonders how to spell a word, you can ask, "How would Stretch say it?" The script for blending phonemes is, guess what word I'm saying? F, a, n. To scaffold for students, you can leave less of a pause between the sounds. It would sound like this, f, a, n. You could touch separate pieces of felt as the phonemes are pronounced, then move the pieces together until they touch and say the entire word. Or you could provide the onset and rhyme to see if the child will be successful at that level. Guess what word I'm saying? F, an. The script for segmenting words into phonemes is, what are the sounds in ship? To scaffold for students, you can use Elkonin boxes and tokens, tell the student to stretch out the word, or ask the student, how would Stretch say it? When choosing words for blending and segmenting, start with 2 phoneme words with continuing phonemes. Examples would be faux, knee, and lay. Move on to 3 phoneme words with continuing phonemes, like fish, moon, and mice. Then introduce 2 phoneme words with 1 stop sound, like boy, cow, and paw. Then move on to 3 phoneme words with 2 stop sounds, like bed, gate, and jug. Blending and segmenting at the phoneme level are the flip side of each other. Be sure to point this out to your students. The activity Tap and Sweep in the book Phonemic Awareness Playing with Sounds has the students segment the word and then blend it back. Even when activities don't suggest to, it's a great practice for your students to blend the sounds back together after segmenting words into sounds.
And now I'm going to say a word very slowly, and you're going to try to guess the word. Ready? B-O.
Bow. Bow.
Bow is right. Yeah. Another word I'll try. B-E.
Bee.
You're right. Good one. And last one will be fish.
Fish.
All 3 sounds. You got it. Today we're going to listen for all the sounds in a word. I'll use my arm and we'll go with the word ice. Ice. Do you hear all the sounds of the word?
Yes.
Ice.
Ice.
Now I'm going to try another one. What about the sounds in the word key? K, E, K, E, key.
We have seen Elkonin boxes used throughout this module. The link for a video of segmenting words into phonemes from Axelson Academy can be found later in this lesson. Engaging the body in movement during phonological awareness activities is supported by some professionals in the field. For example, once students have learned the segmenting and blending processes, they may be able to use methods like finger counting to help gain speed and achieve automaticity. Ashby and her colleagues provided this method. The students who require more concrete support may stay with Elkonin boxes and tokens. Pause the video for a moment and read through these steps. The Haggerty program uses hand chopping extensively. Some people recommend stomping out or hopping for the syllables or sounds. The use of a magnetic wand to pick up magnetic tokens once they've been moved is another way to offer movement and increase interest in these sound-focused activities. Yolanda Sorrell, founder of Yolanda Sorrell Literacy in New Zealand, demonstrates a second finger counting method. The video of her activity can be found later in the lesson. When it comes to adding in counting and additional patterns of movement, I do need to add a cautionary note. Students who struggle with phonological processing may find the additional load of movement and/or counting to be too much of a cognitive load. Take a group snapshot, so to speak, of your class and ask yourself, are the students most in need of practice actually participating in these activities? To help students learn and then become automatic at blending and segmenting with phonemes, here are a variety of activities. Yolanda Sorrell offers these free visuals that she calls write-on-word cards, but I would use them in a heartbeat as Elkonin boxes for segmenting words into sounds. If you have already taught the letter-sound associations for the letters in a particular word, then by all means, have the students follow up their word segmentation with writing in the letters. I would see that as one more opportunity to connect speech to print. Let's recap Lesson 7. The explicit teaching of blending sounds into words and segmenting words into sounds is widely supported. Blending phonemes into words and segmenting words into phonemes are the two critical skills needed for early literacy. Teach the two critical skills using two phonemes. Once the skills are understood using two phonemes, move on to using three phonemes. Blending phonemes works alongside letter-sound knowledge to help emerging readers sound out words. Blending phonemes is critical for orthographic mapping because the reader needs to identify the word before it can be orthographically mapped. Segmenting words into phonemes assists with early spelling skills by helping the speller identify the sounds and therefore letters involved. Orthographic mapping also requires that individual phonemes can be separated quickly and effortlessly. Puppets can be used to increase engagement during blending and segmenting activities. A puppet who needs help learning to talk can be used during blending activities, while asking, "How would Stretch say it?" can assist students with spelling.